Welcome, welcome. We are live on Facebook again, 1 o'clock Thursday, 30 with Karen and Justin. Sadly, no Karen this week. This is hilarious. It's like a lottery as to whether or not we're going to get Karen one week or the other. This week, I can confirm there is no Karen Paul, so it's just Justin today. But it's never just Justin because Justin's amazing. So we've got a really great guest today. Super excited. We have Derek Moore joining us. I've known Derek for many years. He's the owner of Hercs Nutrition, Canada's #1 health and supplement store with locations in Ancaster and Burlington. And you own three of them now? Four of them?
Four.
Three? Four of them now. Oh my goodness, Derek, you're a tycoon at this point. This is like you're playing The Sims and you're owning all these things. It's great. He knows everything there is to know about supplements, from what actually works to some of the crap that you've heard that are probably myths. So today we're going to break down some cool shit. We just talked about some stuff right before coming on that I think we're going to blow some doors off. I'm pretty excited. But I wanted to start with, you know, for our audience here, that's kind of a newer audience to us. I know you've been on my previous podcast and the iterations that we had before. This might be a little bit of a new audience as well. So I wanted to start with, how the heck did you get into this industry as opposed to whatever other industry you could possibly be in? What drew you to supplements and health and wellness?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, so my background is I was always into sports, was a pretty competitive runner in my high school and university career.
Cool.
So went to Brock, did a Bachelor of Kinesiology there.
Cool.
And about halfway through university, I started getting the weightlifting bug, if you will.
Right.
And with weightlifting,
I was going to say, you got more of a weightlifter's body now than a runner's body.
I used to be a lean 155, flash going down the side of the road. So those days are coming numbered, and kind of transitioned into more weightlifting and just kind of building a physique. And with that, I kind of dabbled into looking at supplements and protein powders and things that can help support those goals. And then just by luck of the draw, I happened to be helping out somebody at a bar. All good stories start at a bar. And I had I was laid off from a job that kind of folded. It was called Future Shop. I don't know if you guys remember
Oh yeah, they're gone.
Yeah. So that paid my university, great commission sales, cool. Great atmosphere. Taught a lot of skills there. And then
I was going to say, you probably learned a lot about selling there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then once that went under, knew a guy at a bar, and he worked at Hercs, and the rest is history. So I worked with the CEO, just happened to be in St. Catharines, and I took on more responsibility. And then as opportunities became available for stores to be bought, I kind of threw my hat in the ring and started with Burlington on Fairview Street.
Which, by the way, I started going there before you. And that wasn't on Fairview Street originally. That was up in North Burlington originally.
Yeah, I think Walker's Line, we had one there.
Yeah, and that was really near our house. So I was there all the time. And as it transitioned to South Burlington, the thing that drew me there was the shakes. They were the best. They are the best shakes in the city. I'll tell you right now, if you want a protein shake, go to Hercs.
The old classic shake.
And I followed them down to Fairview when they went down there, but it kind of, I guess that's when you took over a little after that.
Yep. Yeah, so I took over from the previous owner, and then just kind of rolled that into success at some other stores that I could take over. Built a new one, North Burlington and Appleby line. And I still work with the CEO, helping build new locations. So when we have new licensees come in, we help with getting them set up. And really what drew me to it was just the energy in the store. Our CEO, very charismatic, bigger than life. You're surrounded by people that are very pro-health, that want to take care of themselves, live a good quality life. And versus the kinesiology background I had, which was very clinical and very after the fact health, in terms of, if you damage yourself at work, that's where we come to help. If you have poor habits late in life, then that's where we're there to help. Whereas Hercs Nutrition was built around living a good life, as long as you can, and surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded. So that's really what drew me into the culture, and really getting passionate about making it a lifestyle. And
so I've got a couple comments on that. For one, I want to suggest that for anybody out there that thinks that a job is just a job, right? You started as a salesperson in store at Hercs, and you put your heart and soul into that. You worked your butt off, and you impressed the people that were running the opportunities there. I'm sure that's what it sounds like to me. I mean, you had to love it, but also you put the effort in, and those people saw you and said, wow, you're amazing. And you grew your way in through that company all the way to owning locations, which I think is an incredible success story for young people out there to go, what am I going to do with my life? Where are my passions lie? How can I leverage them into the greatest success I possibly can?
Yeah.
It can be done.
And just full transparency, when I started there, I had a large severance from the Future
Future
Shop
shop.
days,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I mean, I was working for $10 an hour. I mean, I owned a house at the time, so I just moved into my first house 3 months prior.
Mhm.
I remember coming home, my wife was still in bed because we got laid off at like 7 in the morning. They didn't want anyone to leave the store and
Oh,
steal anything.
so you were together at the same store?
Oh, we were together. We owned a house together. Came
Oh,
home, said,
that's
"Hey, I lost my
hilarious.
job." Yeah, so
So
she's like,
you
"Go get a
both
job
got
right
laid
now."
off.
Yeah, and then
Holy crap.
yeah, so it was tumultuous times, but I knew I was gonna figure something out. And like I said, the severance was big enough that I could kind of take my time. But within a few months, I stumbled across the Hercs. So,
Right.
I didn't get paid maybe my market value at first, but I was an advocate of working hard, showing value to the owners, especially small business. Everybody knows, there aren't these large budgets and
Right.
money coming out of every crack. So you really got
Yeah.
to work and really add value. So I feel
Yeah.
like I added a ton of value with my experience with sales, experience with operations, and just tried to create value for the CEO in the St. Catherine stores. And like I said, I kind of niched myself into a role of like an operations manager, and especially helping new owners start up. It was it kind of worked out, and then opportunities came for ownership in several stores. So
Well, I will say
uh,
this.
yeah,
I saw you at the very beginning because when you started at that store and were owning that store and took over and I was there all the time, we got to know each other.
well,
And your growth just as an individual and a human being has been incredible. And we've had some pretty freaking amazing conversations in store just
yeah,
about life and business and all kinds of things. So,
mhm,
I will say about the Hercs brand and about how Derek runs his stores, there's a certain comfort level. I do want to sort of dispel a myth of like going into those stores is not like gym bros standing around with giant muscles, kind of like going, "Oh, we want protein." It's like just normal people like me and anybody else that hanging around that goes in there. I sit out front and drink my shake sometimes, watch people come and go. There's just normal people coming and going because they need a snack on the way to work or on the way from work or whatever. A healthy option to stop in and grab a $4 or $5 snack or whatever the
mhm,
cost of the shakes in
mhm.
a day. So, I mean, great atmosphere, great opportunity. This is me pumping up your store a little bit because it's
Sure,
a great
sure.
spot. Okay, so now let's kind of go down that road a bit. You're in the store, you mentioned something as you were kind of talking there about how you used to be in an industry where you would see people after. Now we're talking about an industry where you're trying to prevent things from the beginning, so trying to
Yep,
live a healthier life to prolong your life, but also to keep healthier during that life and enjoy your life to the fullest. And I think
yep,
that's something that as we were talking before, pre-COVID, that wasn't necessarily a massive thing, but since COVID, there's been a shift towards really working on preventative health measures or preventative
yep.
safety for yourself long term. How has that shift happened?
Yeah, really, the COVID was the trigger for that. So, I mean, we're generally a sports nutrition store and sold some health products, but we've seen a huge transition to more health focused products.
Right.
Anything from multivitamins, a la carte vitamins, omegas, collagen, anything that can help kind of live a better life and a longer life. And there's some simple, simple over the counter supplements can really help. And that's generally driven by socioeconomical issues too. So people are just busier than they've ever been.
Right.
Dual income households are pretty much commonplace, and people just don't have the time to maybe take care of themselves like they used to. So sports nutrition products and health products, again, as a supplement, can be used to really offset any of those negative side effects of a busy lifestyle. And if your goal is to live a healthier life, and especially with families or yourself with kids, you want to be able to live an active, fulfilling life with your kids. Not be, everyone hurts here and there, but you want to be able to move around and be nimble and
Yeah.
athletic, right? So,
Someone told me
um,
one time the measure of the longevity of your life becomes the time with which, or the length of time with which you can get up and down from sitting in a
yes,
chair. Right. And
yes,
it's like, it's such a simple little thing, but the second you can't do that anymore, your life just tumbles off. And if you can build muscle to keep that strength to be able to
yes.
do that, but also help maintain and support that muscle strength with proper supplementation, it really does it genuinely, like, of all the BS supplements out there, that's one of the things that literally can help you.
Yes, yes, yeah. I mean, and you talked about it with our kind of culture at the store is, I mean, if we talk to somebody for 50 minutes and they walk out with nothing, but they're more empowered with knowledge and an understanding of physiology, little bit of understanding of training principles. For us as a retail store, yes, we need to make money, but I care much more about adding value in that respect. So people build that trust with us that when it is time to try a supplement, or if they want to layer onto their program, we can be a place that's going to be trustworthy and add value. And you mentioned the protein. I mean, almost everybody is not consuming enough protein in their diet. And again, that's just busy lifestyle. Meat is very expensive to buy,
Very
especially
expensive.
since COVID. So a sports nutrition product like a whey protein, plant-based protein, 1 to 2 servings a day, the price per serving is generally in the $2 range.
Right.
And that can really bolster your protein intake for the day. And as you mentioned with building lean muscle, I mean, the longer you can maintain lean muscle through your aging, better insulin sensitivity, better mobility, all kinds of different benefits that you're going to have. So yeah, I mean, that's really the part of the Herc store and the supplementation is that we really want to provide, good advice and make sure people are, informed.
So one of the things that I do a lot is energy drinks, which I
Me too.
yeah, no, I mean, I feel like because I hate coffee, I'm gonna be really
Yeah.
transparent there. Like people look at me with a funny face when I say that, but I just can't stand coffee. I just I do love a coffee crisp every now and then, but I can't stand
Yes.
coffee, right? So my one of the things we've talked about over the years is the confusion and up and down of what's allowed in the country and this, that, and the other. And one of the things that I think we should talk about here, because we did mention it a little bit before, but
Mhm.
the stringent rules that Canada has over the US and how that looks here. And I want to actually try to have you ease our mind as to
Yes.
the level of security and safety we have with some of these products that are here.
Yep.
I sort of said to you just before we got on, like when you walk into like Joe's convenience store and he's gone all over and grabbed stuff out of the US, brought it over in his trunk and come
Yep.
up here and shoved it on his shelves and he's selling it or whatever, and you get stuff from there. Cool. That's great. Go ahead, do that. But what are the standards that we have here versus there, and how does that play out in the
Mhm.
marketplace?
And it's a great topic because even with food products, everyone's probably seen the news and some of the
Mm.
changes in the U.S. with the HHS.
Hmm.
The U.S. has one of the worst food manufacturing practices in terms of processed foods. It's just fact. And
Yeah.
you look at the dyes; they're finally outlawing dyes
Yes.
like F&D red and some of these that can be harmful in high quantity. Canada hasn't had that for years. I mean, it's been
Does that
several
have to
years.
do with quantity as well? Like, because I think
Yep.
in the US with 300 million people hanging
Yes.
around, you have to make an efficient way of creating more food
Absolutely.
because otherwise, how do you feed them all?
Yeah. Yeah. So with that being said, with the sports nutrition products, and you mentioned energy drinks, that was really a tipping point
Mm.
about 4 years ago. Because during COVID, there was a lot looser rules at the border. Things were coming through that maybe should have got a second look, and they really nailed energy drinks to a standard.
It was almost like
And
Prime came along and then everything
Prime
changed.
was an issue,
Yeah.
Ghost was an issue, and again, nothing wrong with the U.S. products, but in Canada, again, I'd say we're closer to the Europeans in terms of trying to make better quality standards.
Right.
And so in Canada, in order for a sports nutrition or a supplement specific product, so anything that's a supplement, requires an extra layer of verification. And it's called, you can look this up, it's called a natural product number or NPN. And an NPN requires several things. It requires bilingual labels, just because in Canada, that's kind of our language. It requires validation on dosing,
Hmm.
and it requires efficacy on dosing. So, for example, energy drinks, you'll notice in Canada, nothing exceeds 180 milligrams of caffeine
Hmm. Hmm.
because per serving, that's what Health Canada is deemed as a safe limit. Whereas in the US, you can get a energy drink with 500 milligrams of
I was gonna say
caffeine
because like I've seen
at a
these
convenience
cans
store.
this size with over
Yes,
300 milligrams of, and I'm like,
yes,
I've had them, and holy shit, does it like woo, like you go
yeah,
nuts, like yeah,
yeah. So, at the downside of maybe having less variety, it's definitely a better filter of just
right.
making sure, again, because, we have younger kids in our store, not children, but, you want to make sure that anything we have in the store is not going to cause any issues. And we still recommend certain caffeine over, age 18, but the NPN number is really critical. So if you come in the shop at one of our stores or just go to, any store that sells supplements, you should be able to look for an NPN number on the label. And if you don't see that, not that you're getting a terrible product, but just know that that NPN is there to help the consumer with transparency, effectiveness, and efficacy. and a product cannot be on the shelf legally without that being done. And sometimes there'll be some pending, there'll be loopholes they pull around with, but for the most part, an NPN is there to protect the consumer. It's to hold the companies to a higher standard. And even as of this year, they've even made it a little bit more, difficult for these manufacturers, I could say, but I think at the end of the day, it's a good thing. So even per flavor, if you buy a pre-workout and it has 4 flavors, every year they have to renew that NPN to make sure it's meeting those standards.
Wow,
Because
that's
sometimes
quite
what will
significant.
happen is you issue a license, for example, they'll do it properly the first time, and then they'll kind of slide off the rails and maybe do some stuff that maybe is not appropriate or saves money. That's a factor as well. So, if you guys are coming into the store or you're shopping for supplements in general, an NPN is what you want to see for the most effective, safest product. And when we're recommending these products, that's what you can keep in the back of your mind too, that you're going to get a product that's safe, effective, and it meets label claim.
That's so huge, because
yeah.
how many label claims are such shit? Like I swear I'm swearing a lot today, which is weird.
Well, there was
crap.
years there. There was scandals for years. When I first started, there was a huge scandal about 8 years ago. It was called amino spiking.
Right.
And what they would do is take a premium whey protein product, like a whey isolate, which is very high quality. Think of it as like an 18 karat gold versus 10 karat gold, very high quality. And what they would do is take the raw ingredient and then put an amino acid matrix on the label. So you'd get whey protein isolate as the first ingredient. And then after that, you'd see something called a recovery matrix. And they would throw glutamine, creatine, arginine. And the whey protein is calculated on the label. It's based on nitrogen content, which all amino acids and protein contain. But there's those amino acids they threw in had a really high nitrogen weight.
Oh, so you can lower the amount of protein.
Yes. So you'd get a protein with a 30-gram serving with 25 grams of whey protein, or you would think it's protein, but it actually only had 15 grams of whey isolate, 15 grams of nitrogen coming from the amino acid matrix. So you're only getting 50% of what you're supposed to be getting.
Wow.
And that was a huge scandal. So they really, clamped down on that. And then, you can look this up. There's several companies.
No, this is not the first time I've heard stories like this, though, because of it. I mean, I follow a guy named James Smith on the interwebs. I don't know if you know him. He's an English guy who talks about health and wellness a little bit like you here in this conversation. And he actually took a bunch of creatine gummies.
I've seen that.
Sent them all. Have you seen this? He sent them all off to the place where they actually test them. And the people that test them said that they were not
there's
up
nothing
to snuff.
Yeah,
they had not enough creatine in them, and in almost every single product. So it's pretty intense.
That's a big thing right now. The creatine gummy is a big thing. There's a lot of companies that have, generally Amazon resellers and things like that have kind of been shady, but the ones that we've been very reserved on bringing in, because there is with creatine monohydrate, probably one of the most common, if anyone's not taking creatine, definitely you should be looking into it. Not only for 100% recovery benefits, strength, but also cognition.
Yeah, brain for sure.
And most people, if you take a high dose in the morning, like 15 to 20 grams, immediately your mind is sharp, fatigue kind of dissipates.
I can attest to that. I had a night a few weeks ago, and I'd read this before actually, it hasn't been long since I'd known that, where I was really exhausted. I was up late working, doing stuff, got up early in the morning. I just couldn't get through the morning. Took a huge, like double, triple thing of creatine. By the midday, I was like, bing, like right at it again. And it was fine. It works. I'll tell you.
So with creatine monohydrate, it's infamous for being not water soluble.
Right.
So gummies obviously sound really appealing, but in order to make them, they have to kind of keep them in a liquid.
Right.
And what happens is when creatine monohydrate is in liquid, it breaks down almost immediately, so if you're consuming creatine as a supplement and a powder, your best practice is to mix it up and consume it immediately. If you leave it in your shaker for more than 20 minutes, it actually starts breaking down, and eventually there's no creatine left to even be consumed.
Wow.
So creatine gummies, if they're not done correctly,
I see. So they'll break down over time in the gummy. Oh, wow.
So the ones there is gummies that are legitimate and are tested third party. So we have some new ones, we have a few different brands that we carry, but usually what they do is they'll add other ingredients in there to keep the stability.
Yeah. That's cool.
So, but yeah, like back to the NPN, it's just, some people like variety in the US, but you don't always get what you're paying for. So,
well, and I'm sure the internet has made it worse. right? Because you can order whatever you
Yes.
want from wherever you want. Like one of the big,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm, as you know, I've gone down a bit of a testosterone supplementation journey, right?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
And so I'm taking testosterone on a weekly basis. I inject myself on a weekly basis, and it's
Uh-huh.
changed my life. Like it's huge. And one of the things that sort of came from that was doing a bit of research in a whole bunch of other things. And there's things like peptides and all these things.
I'm,
And
I'm
I
glad you
started
brought
going
this
down a
up.
rabbit hole. How much stuff that is not available in Canada because it's not legal, not ready, not,
Yep.
shelf
Yep.
ready. And I can buy all of it and have it sent to me directly.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
don't trust, like, and what website am I looking at? Like, I don't know where they're from, who they are, what they're and
Mhm.
these websites can look slick. So it's
Well,
dangerous out there because you can hurt
it,
yourself.
and the peptides, I mean, there is some science that shows there's some benefits here and there, but to your point, the main thing is you really don't know where it's coming from,
No.
especially when you've got to reconstitute these powders with a biostatic liquid, like to make sure there's no germs or anything in there, and then you're injecting in yourself. You just gotta be, if
Yeah.
anyone is ordering stuff over, but you know what? I'll mention one thing about the peptides
Yeah.
is, I mean, as everyone knows, Ozempic and GLP-1s have
Yes.
exploded. I mean, even us as a sports nutrition store, you would think, oh my God, we won't be able to sell fat burners anymore than this and that. I've taken the opposite approach. I'm going head on with this thing. So, if people feel it's good for them, it's right for their lifestyle. Yes, there might be some long-term studies that might, debunk some of the benefits, but it's all in how you use things. Even with your TRT, I'm sure there's a spectrum with different doctors of,
Yes.
do you take a half cc a week, or yeah, we can bump it up to 1 cc. There's a spectrum there with the
Yeah.
healthcare professional you can talk to, but with the peptides, GLP-1s, there's tons of Eli Lilly is developing a lot of new technology for oral versions.
Mm.
And as long as people understand how these things work, just like supplements, having an understanding of how they work, what the dosing looks like, maybe looking at some of the research and having an open discussion with your healthcare professional about it.
Yeah.
They can provide a tremendous benefit for people that are struggling with weight. On the flip side, they'll also tell you too, it's very critical if you are on the GLP-1, making sure your fiber intake is sufficient,
Mm.
making sure your protein intake is sufficient, and make sure you're doing resistance training. That's published very clearly with all, anyone that's promoting those,
Mhm.
because one of the downside effects of losing weight more rapidly is that you can lose muscle.
Yeah,
And like
100%.
we talked about in the beginning,
Yeah.
having more muscle is going to help with it, all these other metabolic processes. And again, it's dose dependent. If you do a higher dose of these GLP-1s, the side effect of losing muscle is higher, but it's still something to be aware of. It's a double down that if you are using these to help manage weight and help with insulin sensitivity and reducing heart disease, all these things. The flip side is, it actually builds you, the awareness to have a better healthy lifestyle with resistance training,
Hmm.
protein, and
You
a
know
lot
what's
of the research
interesting?
shows that these people build much better habits even using a drug
A
like
hundred
that.
percent.
So
But
it's
also you're
interesting.
spending the time and money to do it. And I think a lot of people, once they've gone down that road and spend the
I
money,
agree.
they
I agree.
then
Once you're
like if they
spending
have
five
no
hundred
skin in
dollars
the
on it,
game.
yes, you want
Yeah.
to make sure you're going to maintain. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, but here's the thing that I find interesting, and this may not be down your alley, but certainly sounds like it. So one, there's like a cascading effect of things that you do to yourself in a lot of ways,
Yes.
right? If you change one thing over here, a lot of times that creates another thing over here, which creates another thing, and you got to close the loop to make sure it's all taken
Mm-hmm.
care of. And the
Mm-hmm.
example I'll give you is my TRT, which is I take the testosterone, it increases my hemoglobin levels to a
Yep.
point where it's dangerous. It can be dangerous. If I
Yep.
long term did nothing and just kept hammering TRT into me, I would probably die of a heart attack or some sort of blood clot or
Sure.
something down the road, right? And so I now go and I donate blood, which is actually a wonderful side
Yep.
effect of this because now I use my
Helping
precious,
other people too.
yeah. And I could go to the hospital and just have it dumped and thrown away, but
Yep.
that's stupid. So I go once every few
Yep.
months and I donate blood. But the other side effect of that is low iron.
Right.
So now I'm in this loop of like, and I was feeling like crap again. And I'm like, I'm doing all this stuff and I still feel like shit. And we ended up having a discussion. So the thing is that to your point is the hard part is when you have HHS going, don't trust your science, but talk to
Yep.
your medical, like who do you, it's so fucking, I don't even want to get into that. But anyway, the point is what I love is the knowledge that you carry and that you're bringing to the table seems to have all those pieces covered. Of course, your recommendation is make sure we loop in your medical professionals to make sure that we're doing the right thing and we're not crossing over with any other medications or anything else that you're doing. But just make sure that the things that you do could have cascading side effects that you need to cover off to make sure it all works properly.
Yeah, and that's why those GLP, just because they're so prevalent, right? And in our demographic, you mentioned this too. We do have a lot of 25 to 35-year-olds that are professionals. They have families. You play hockey. Like all these people were athletic in one day in their life. So, like I said, the sports nutrition side is still important, but now they're later in life, busier, and these types of solutions, whether it's TRT, whether it's GLP-1s.
Yeah. And
my job really is to make sure I'm up to date on some of the information so that I can give the best solutions. And I mentioned, GLP-1s, one of the major side effects with a higher dose, especially, is gastrointestinal issues,
right?
Which can be mitigated by lower dosing. But again, it's important making sure that you're using products that are going to help digestion, help things move along easier in the digestive tract.
Yeah.
And again, the muscle wasting and all that. So to your point, it's, you can't have your cake and eat it too. A lot of the times you just have to be cognizant that, hey, if I'm going to get this better quality of life with, say, a TRT replacement, here's some of the smaller things that I have to be concerned of. Yeah. But as long as I'm aware of these and I have an open conversation, I'm going to not only get the benefits of something like you've been using, but also, like I said, the cascade to maybe some other benefits as well. So
someone I know recently had interestingly down this road had read something somewhere and was following the advice of some random person on the interweb and didn't really know who they were, but they were adamant that this thing was the thing that would save you. And boy, didn't we find that person passed out on their floor with a massive medical emergency because of that. And, I'm certainly not going to name names because I don't want to kind of out personal information. But, when I hear that, I just feel like this industry can be so fickle and you have to be careful who you talk to and make sure you do your research. I think that's the most important thing. And this is the asterisk on this whole conversation is what you hear here is informational purposes, but ultimately make sure you're doing your own personal research through your medical providers and things like that, because this can be so dangerous when you hear people talk about things, and the TikTok and things like that has created this industry of bullshit that is just so beyond bizarre to me. I saw one guy talking about the benefit of drinking your own pee. And I'm feeling like this is waste
over the years.
Well, yeah, but this is waste that comes out of your body for a reason, because you don't need it anymore. And you're going to shove it back in your body. It's just bizarre.
You know what I've learned in linking with the sports nutrition stuff and just overall health and lifestyle, it's always in moderation, everything. Again, keto diets, they have their place. But you know what? A moderate protein, lower carb diet is just as fine. And it might be actually a better long-term solution for a lot of folks. With sports nutrition products, a pre-workout is fine if you want to prime the body, get some more intensity, improve endurance. But doing 4 scoops of a high-stim pre-workout, probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
So I think just everything, same with these therapeutics that are out there now. GLP-1s are great, but you know what? Maybe 2.5 milligrams is probably sufficient to start. Yeah. Instead of going to the extreme where you could run into fainting and other issues. Yeah. So I think just across the board, when you see these things on social media, it's like, you know what? Interesting. It caught my eye. Let me look into this, and maybe it's maybe there's something small in there, but it's been blown way out of proportion.
But the point is, I think, is like I've learned a lot from TikTok. A lot of what I do in the gym, when I do gym workouts, I'll model a workout around some of the stuff I've learned on TikTok, and I think I'm doing okay. I think I got a pretty big.
Looking all right. Anyway, I think it's the shirt.
I love to show it off why do I do it if I'm not going to show it off? Okay.
Oh, shoulder pads in there? What's going on?
But I just think I think what I do with it is I take that information and then I turn around and go, okay, where's the validity in that? How can I supplement that information with more information that says that it's good instead of just one guy? And I'll look at both sides. Because you've got people that are talking about how seed oils are the worst thing on the planet, and I don't know how you feel about it, but from what I understand,
it's hard to get stuff without it. Like it's become
that's the point,
assimilated.
Right?
I just had a nice bar. It's an oatmeal bar and it has a little bit of canola oil in it, but I'm like,
yeah, but I feel like the mindset of these folks to be able to sell their products is creating food insecurities and food mental illnesses.
That's like a fear mongering type of
marketing. I just think that it's so deep, that it's so harsh. And I'm like, guys, it's like when I do a home inspection. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much now. My wife's going to kill me. Stop talking, she'll say. I do a home inspection, and a home inspector, the guy we use is so level-headed and straightforward to the point. You feel comfortable getting the information from the guy. These people, there's other home inspectors that will be, oh my God, this thing, oh my, what is the thing?
The house is going to fall down.
Yeah, like, I mean, and it's like, gosh, guys, come on, relax. That's a $10 fix. You don't need to have like a conniption because of it.
Engineer in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the same thing here. These people really, they walk through the grocery store and go, look at the ingredients on this label. Oh my God. Like, this is a diet soda. I like diet soda, and I don't give a crap what anybody says.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to continue.
Better than a full sugar soda.
I know, right? I mean, geez. Nice. So, okay. So tell me about, okay, this is a tough one for you because you probably have some of this in your store. Tell me about the supplements that are you like, don't bother. Or maybe you don't have them in your store. Well, I don't know. I don't know what
I would say, I think this is where the issue is. And a lot of it is the social media. Okay. There'll be a perception that's built up on a supplement that doesn't meet reality. So a customer's expectation, and this is what we really pride ourselves at Hercs. I mentioned, you know, giving information without getting a sale. It's you know, really cutting the bull crap out. You know, a good one is test boosters. Okay. They've come and gone over the years. There's been herbs over the years that work, don't work. I don't feel any different. And I think the common thing on a test booster is people think they're taking testosterone.
Right. I agree.
That is not the expectation. The reality is you are taking some over-the-counter natural herbal products that, you know, there is some science to show there's an elevation in testosterone.
Got it.
But it's not a super physiological benefit.
Right.
So someone like you who is using a replacement therapy medically, let's say your testosterone is measuring at 100 nanograms per deciliter, which is, you know, low. Yeah. And now you're taking your TRT and you're at 700 to 800 nanograms a deciliter. You're in the high normal range.
Right.
A testosterone over-the-counter product, if you're at 100 grams a deciliter, you might get 120.
Right.
So your overall physiological benefits aren't going to be there. One thing to start, and we usually tell this to customers, and we don't carry a ton of them, but one thing people do like about them is the cognitive benefit and the overall feeling of well-being.
Got it.
So you can increase even, and this is just even through diet as well. If you do things in your diet that help promote better testosterone support, lower sugars, good healthy fats, vitamin D, all of those have been clinically shown to help.
Working out, for God's sakes, helps you boost your testosterone.
And it's not super physiological like you're going to get jacked.
Yeah.
But your well-being, your libido, your mood, those things can improve with an over-the-counter product. Fully. The problem is that, you know, social media and some of these new novel ingredients, terkestrone is one that's kind of popped up over the years. They don't give you super physiological benefits. And I think that's a good example. Really, I think any supplement is just that. It's something to supplement a deficiency in your diet. So really any of them can be useless if you're not deficient. Vitamin D is a good example where,
a really great
because we're in
example.
North American climate, almost all of us are deficient. So there's almost no downside to taking 2,500 to 5,000 units of D3 a day with some K2 to really improve not only hormone proliferation, but just overall well-being, mood. So again, I think, you know, it's all how it's explained and maybe some of the pros and cons. But really, if I had to recommend, you know, 3 products that are really going to be a game changer.
Sure.
Protein, creatine, and some healthy fats.
So are you talking like omega-3, like the fish oil pills, basically?
Yes. And the reason I mentioned those 3 is it's very difficult to get those in through regular diet.
In the proper quantity.
Correct.
Right. Because you can eat a whole chicken breast and you're not going to equal what you would do with 2 scoops of, you know, protein powder. Yeah.
And it's, you know, let's assume we're all eating 2 to 3 meals a day. Having 1 to 2 servings of a protein can make a big difference in your overall protein intake for the day, which has a ton of those cascade benefits. Omega-3s in a proper dose. One, it's just one of the best health products you can take in terms of heart health, cognitive, anti-aging. But to get the amount that it's actually required, I mean, nobody's eating, you know, fresh salmon every day in the quantities.
I'm just ripping a fresh salmon out of the,
right. So, and because of the processing of foods, you know, some of these nutrients are void, and you know that's why you see, you know, grass-fed and certain things like help retain some of that nutrition. But again, extremely expensive too. So in terms of supplement that makes sense, creatine, we mentioned the tremendous benefits. It's one of the most inexpensive products you can buy.
And highly reviewed and understood supplements.
It's the most studied human supplement ever.
Yes. Yeah.
So in the literature, there's over 1,500 human studies on it.
Right.
It's been around since the early 90s. You can't go wrong with it. And there's nuance in terms of what type, but really a creatine monohydrate for pretty much everybody is fine. And 5 to 30 grams a day. If you want more of the cognitive benefits, you can go on the higher side, but to get the muscle benefits.
I will say
once
this
you're
with creatine though, be careful with the, like, maybe ease into the the higher doses, because
yes,
it messed with my stomach when I just went straight to like a higher
yes,
dose, and you have to
yep,
kind of ease into it.
yeah. If you consume it with food, that helps dramatically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree. 5 grams a day, you're going to start getting the benefits after about 10 to 14 days.
Mhm.
And then, like I said, if you build up a tolerance and your stomach's okay, you can consume higher dosages.
I ended up doing, well, I do hockey tournaments and stuff with the kids and
Mhm.
stuff, and so I disappear for a weekend or 4 or 5 days at a time. And there's been a few times when I've disappeared and not brought creatine with me, and I come back the next week to go to do my normal workout, and you can, like, there's a significant difference in how that workout goes right after that time frame. Like, you can
It's
feel
funny.
the sort of tiredness or whatever it is that it's like your muscles just can't do.
Yeah, I
You know,
think it's funny you mentioned that because I've always been doing the weights for the last 10 years, but since family, business, other things have got my workouts. I do less workouts per week nowadays,
mhm,
but my intensity is very high in those workouts.
mhm,
So
mhm.
45 to an hour, I'm in and out. I'm grouping multiple body parts together, really quality sets,
Yep.
really not pushing things to failure where I'm going to blow a tricep or something, but
There's no need
Lee
for
Haney
that.
always said, stimulate, not annihilate. But
Yep.
with creatine, maybe it's because there's I have more control and maybe the workouts or things are just a little more stable. But man, the creatine makes a huge
It
difference.
really does. I agree.
Muscle
I'm like you.
fullness, endurance,
Yeah.
huge.
I have a similar mindset as you. I'll go up to 3 times a week and do 3 separate sections of body parts,
Mhm.
same all the time for the most part. And, so my body has this kind of understanding of where it needs to be and what it's doing, and it's building strong muscle out of those moments.
Mhm.
But I think at the end of the day, the reality is that, yeah, like I said, when I went off it, I could feel it. And it's such a weird feeling when you're like, I normally do, a set of 10 with 45 on a curl on one arm, and I can do it real easy. And it's like, you might want to go to 50 next week, and then you go back and you're like, I'm at 40 at this point. Like, this is stupid, and just to get a
And
clean set proper, because of course you don't want to like throw your muscles around and hurt yourself, right?
and in terms of the three supplements, including one of those, the dosing on creatine to get 5 grams equivalent in
Yeah.
red meat is about
Yeah.
5 pounds a day.
Oof.
So unless you just have a genetic, Swedish or these ex-Viking kind of heritage, those
Yeah.
people traditionally have higher creatine stores in their muscles.
Yeah.
But pretty much anyone nowadays just doesn't have an abundance
And
of
who's
that.
eating?
And
I mean, even carnivores probably aren't even
yeah,
eating
yeah.
5 pounds of
So
food a day
again, it's
like that.
just so efficient to get that, and the benefits are dramatic.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, creatine, it's one of the fuel systems your body uses to actually contract the muscle.
Mhm.
So to contract any muscle, you require something called ATP. And there's 3 different energy systems that can create ATP. The most high intensity with the shortest duration is the phosphocreatine cycle. So the creatine is there to actually feed that cycle to create ATP. So that's why it works so, and it's logically makes sense. I saturate the muscle more with creatine. I have more substrate to increase that cycle of ATP creation. I can lift stronger. I have better endurance. I can replenish between sets better. It's a win-win. And then your next energy system, you go into anaerobic with lactic acid threshold, then you go into fat metabolism, which is
But then add to it the idea that there's cognitive benefit. People that are suffering from
right.
dementia and things like this, or have the predisposition to have dementia with it in your family, I mean, get on this stuff, because it will. I mean, from what I understand from the
Yeah.
literature I've read, it helps,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, it's valid.
Yeah, it helps with the like neurotransmitting in the brain.
Yeah.
It's and a lot of the studies they did on those, from what I've read, is a lot on army people.
Mhm.
So people that are sleep deprived,
Right.
running, haven't slept in 4 days, give them a ton of creatine, and their cognition results
Wow.
off the charts. So I'm like,
That's
hey, if it works
amazing.
for them,
Yeah, I mean, they're in the most extreme situations. Okay, so let's summarize this, because this has been great.
Sure.
So, all right. So, first of all, not saying don't go get your own stuff somewhere else, but be
Sure.
very cautious, understand what you're getting, do your research. If you have to come into a Hercs, I would recommend it. I would recommend popping into a Hercs and getting the information you need, and picking up the supplements that you need from there. For one, Canadian company, right? Great people that work there, people that care clearly, as Derek shows you. with the information as well as the customer experience. Because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I mean, it's funny because I had this discussion before about certain trades, certain people really good at what they do, but their customer service, even in real estate, they might be great realtors, but their customer service is lacking. And so it creates a weird, this is totally the opposite of that. Their service is great, their product line is great, their knowledge is great, their customer service is off the charts, their shakes are great. So I'm really pumping up Hercs here because I'm a customer, and this isn't like a paid promotion. They don't pay me to do. I hope I maybe get something for free at some point, but that would help. Maybe a
I'll give you a
sweater or
I'll give you a
something.
big hug, when I see you next.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And now that you have 4 stores, I barely see you anyway, so I ain't
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
this
yeah.
hug anytime
Funny
soon.
enough, though, I end up running people that I think of here and there. Yeah, man, I haven't seen Justin in a while, and sure enough,
And
I
then
see
you
you
run
again.
into
Yeah,
That's so funny. Which is why we're on this call today, actually, because
yeah,
we ran
yeah.
into each other
Just
about
happen to
10
run
days
into each
ago.
other. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so funny.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so but do that. The supplements you fully recommend for every human being out there are protein, creatine, and some sort of omega or healthy fat.
Mhm.
And that really just summarizes the whole conversation.
Yeah,
Research, research, research. Talk to people you
yeah,
know, talk to people that you trust.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A
Well,
lot
we're
of
gonna put
information.
all the store details down below so that you can reach
Sure.
out or pop into any of the stores across Burlington, Ancaster, St. Catharines.
Yeah,
I
you
think
can
you
even
own.
throw my email in there. If somebody has a question, just shoot me an email, and I can
Perfect.
return
We'll
any
throw your
info.
email
Yeah,
in there. That's amazing.
cool.
I
Yep,
appreciate that. That's great.
cool.
Awesome. We'll put that all below in the chat. This will be on live for the next 30 days. You can watch this video and then we'll slide it over to YouTube and we can go from there.
Awesome.
But yeah, appreciate you. This has been
No, I appreciate the
awesome.
chat. It's
I
great.
love it. All right, man. We're gonna shut it down. See you next week, everybody. Have a good one.